All right, on today's podcast, we are talking about damage. We all have it. We've all had it in our life. How do we deal with it? If we're damaged, are we still good? Find out today on the podcast. Well, we're at another podcast today here at Refuge Radio, and we're so excited to share with you. And I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you have tuned into the podcast and check all the great stuff on that everyone is talking about. And today we're going to talk about damage. Man, damage is something that is so familiar to so many of us. We all have damage in our life. We've all been damaged. But what happens when damage goes on? How do we respond to that? What do we do? How do we live out of this? And so years ago, I was getting a message together called Damaged Goods. And I want to share that with you today because I think it's something that is so important for us to understand. Now imagine with me, you get the brand new phone. Whatever the latest phone is, because I'm going to say a phone now, and people that watch this, like 6 months from now, we're going to have a new phone, a better phone that's going to be out. We just know that's how culture goes. But imagine you get this new phone, and this new phone is so great and so wonderful. You get a screen protector for it. You get something to put it in a case, and it's awesome. And you love that phone. Well, what's interesting is not too long ago, I was at a sporting event watching some football, and I look up into the stands, and I see this girl who has a brand new iPhone. It was the newest one that came out at that time. And she was so excited to have that phone. And she was up there, and her and her friends are taking selfies. They're on Snapchat. They're probably taking TikToks. They're doing all of these things with this. But as I'm watching her, I'm just kind of watching her interact with her friends. I'm watching her hang out and take these pictures. All of a sudden, they go up to the top of where the stands are at the football game. She leans over the top of the railing to take a picture of her and all of her friends. And all of a sudden, it happens. Yes, it. As in, she leans over to take that picture and she loses it and it slips out of her hand. And can I tell you, it goes into like slow motion. I'm sitting there eating a corn dog and I'm watching this and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be crazy. And you know, like when you have certain things that happen in life and then all of a sudden the slow motion kicks in and all this stuff to happen. Well, I see like her grasping for the phone, it's past her fingertips. She can't even reach it. And she's trying to figure it out. And it just is tumbling down out of the sky. And then all of a sudden, boom, it falls face down on the cement. And there was just like a hush in just that area. I'm looking, the kids are looking from the stands. The girl looks absolutely terrified. And so when this happens, you think for yourself, oh man, I'm dead. If someone bought this for me, I am dead. But if I bought my own money, man, this just stinks. And thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be broken? And you're hoping the screen didn't crack. You're hoping the camera didn't. You're hoping then that protection that you had on it, that screen protector and that protective case that's on it, you're hoping so bad that keeps it from being broken or being controlled. So I watched this girl come down the stands and she runs down. She gets up to it. And now we have like a group of people all there looking at this. And she looks at it and I'm getting anxiety. I'm starting to sweat. I'm getting a little nervous for her because I don't know what's happening with this. And all of a sudden she flips it over and there it was, damage. It was damaged. And it's one of those things where it was so crazy to see it. And I felt so bad for her because that thing was so precious to her. She loved it so much, but it was damaged. See, all of us can understand that, man. We've all probably have dropped a phone, whether it's been in water, whether it's been in the toilet. I mean, some of you probably are playing Candy Crush or playing Minecraft or playing Flipmaster and it falls in the toilet and then it's ruined and there's water damage. And so, or you're walking along and you're talking on it and something happens, trips, falls, breaks. Not too long ago, I had an old phone and I was getting out of my car and I was running into Pastor Wayne's house and it was during a thunderstorm and some crazy things happened. Lightning struck near where we were. I had my phone in my back pocket and it actually fried my phone. The electricity fried my phone. I went through this whole entire thing with Verizon at the time, back and forth arguing about this, and they did not believe me at all. And I'm like, dude, listen, it looks like a blowtorch went to my battery, like the screen is fried, all this stuff. And after fighting back and forth with them, I finally had to go up to a store and show them. And the guy was like, dude, it looks like someone took a blowtorch to your phone. I was like, exactly. That's what I said. And so we have to understand this, that damage is harm that reduces the value or usefulness of something. When my phone gets damaged, it means it's no longer at the price that it was. It reduces the usefulness of the phone because maybe the screen's cracked or maybe something's not working right. And so we have to understand that damage is part of life. And I'm not just talking about your phones or your car or things that you have. I'm talking about your life. And sometimes we don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to shoot straight with you that damage is part of life. It's part of how things go. And we have all dealt with damage at some point in our life where something has happened and something's gone. And we have this view of this object that just really damaged us in our life. What's really cool in the Bible in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 and 9, it says this: "We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." No one wants to have damage done in their life, but being wounded in deep places happens. If you're a human, if you live in mankind, humanity will always have some type of damage aspect that comes into it. Sometimes it just seems to be the rhythm of life that we live in a culture that causes damage. And this verse tells us that, listen, you are going to be hard pressed on every side. That's going to happen. You're going to be perplexed. You're going to be persecuted. You're going to be struck down. And all of these things are going to happen in your life. But that damage that's going on, that damage that happens, impacts you, but can I tell you that it doesn't dictate to you your value? Let me explain it this way. Damage doesn't dictate the value because how God sees you is what matters. Another incredible verse found in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6 says this: "For you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for himself, a special treasure." Check that out. "A special treasure above all the people on the face of the earth." You are someone special to God. Because see, the blood of Jesus has dealt with every sin, failure, hurt, pain, everything that has happened to us. The blood of Jesus has covered that. So understand that you are a treasure. That you are a treasure to God and you're a treasure to this world, and your life has value. Damage doesn't dictate value of your life. And so many times we get caught up in that, and we get such in a mindset where we believe that damage it defines us, but it doesn't define us. It doesn't dictate our value. Think about it this way. Have you ever heard the term damaged goods? For those of you that listen and maybe you work in retail or you work with food or you work in any type of business that has products being in, damaged goods is a commercial term. And it's a collection of goods that have been damaged, usually referring to those damaged during shipping or accidents, then is deliberately reduced in quality or performance for marketing reason. So we just got to see it this way. The damage can occur in a lot of misways. The damage can occur on mishandling of that item. It can happen between the shipping and the receiving of that item. It can happen on road damage. It can be dropped off of a truck or dropped off of whatever it is that's transporting it. It can be messed up on the assembly line and still shipped, not knowing that damage has been done. Or it could even be dropped in a store once it's almost at its destination or at its destination, can be dropped and made and ruined and done. In the damage section of a store, if you go to most grocery stores, they have a damage section that you can go to. You will find that all of these items are on almost like clearance prices, meaning that the higher value, it's no longer at a higher value at the set value of what was intended to, but it was at the least value that they could possibly sell it for. Now, if you're willing to settle for a bargain, trust me, damaged goods is the section you want to go to. That's where you want to go. If you don't care what the packaging looks like, if you don't care if there's dents in the can, if these things don't matter to you, then you go to the clearance section. There's always someone willing to settle for the value of that bargain. Not everyone wants damaged goods, though. I'm one of them. I like to go in and even I don't like a dented cereal box. I don't like a dented can. I want to get things that look presentable. Even though the product inside might still be good, the appearance of it turns me completely off. Now, in commercial business terms, we defined damaged goods. But how does that apply to real life? Well, it's very simple because now in our culture and our reality, we hear like that person is damaged goods and we think someone who's once healthy that's not, someone that once thought greatly of themselves and now they're not great anymore, someone who achieved something at one point and know they no longer have achieved it and they're digressing in who they are. And so the worth and the character of who you are is not defined anymore by what you have done, but how you have failed. And so we have to understand that there's damage that is done in our life, and it happens all of the time. In our culture, in our reality, damaged goods is a bad term. It's a negative term that people use to basically place you in a status of saying that you are not the way that you should be. And the damaged goods in our lives can happen because we've been mishandled. The damaged things in our lives can happen because we've dealt with unfortunate traumatic events. Maybe in the shipping and receiving and going from one place to another, something happened and caused damage. Maybe we were hurt and something devastated us so deeply it caused damage. Maybe mentally and emotionally something happened in your life that caused damage as well. Understand that damage is part of what goes on in our life. And we're going to look at just a few things here in the next several moments about God and his plans for damaged goods. And the thing is that we aren't just damaged goods. That's not just what defines us. But what I see through the Bible is I see that God values not that which is just always good and always complete, but also that which is damaged. Let me explain it to you this way, the best way that I can. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, it says Psalms 34:18, and saves the crushed in spirit, meaning that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted. Put that damage word right there. The Lord is near to the damaged and saves the crushed in spirit. And it's so incredibly amazing to understand that God is close to those who are damaged. Think about it this way. If I'm sitting far away from you, I'm not close to you. If I am sitting on the other side of the room, I am not close to you. If I'm sitting on the other side of the building, I'm not close to you. If I sit in a complete opposite building, not near you, I am not close to you. But if I willingly make the choice to sit down next to you, it was a choice that was made saying, I want to be near you. I want to be where you are. This means that God in heaven, the God of all of the universe, decided that he wanted to be right here next to me. And that even in my life and the damage that I have, the brokenhearted that I have had, and being crushed in spirit, and all of these things, God chose to be next to me because he loves me and he cares about me. See, for the heart that says guilty, God says, listen, you're forgiven. For the heart that's resentful, he said, I'm going to give you peace. For the heart that's anxious, he says, I'm going to give you a security and give you confidence. For those of you that are lonely and you have damage in your life because you're lonely, God says, I'm going to give you a heart full of love. And for those that are bitter and angry, he said, I'm going to give you a heart that's forgiving. We need to allow God to do a heart transplant in us. Isaiah 42:3 is a great verse, and it says, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. A smoldering wick he will not snuff out. Meaning that God is not out to snuff you out. God is not out there saying, listen, I cannot wait till something goes wrong in their life and I can just blow them out and take them out. And that's not how God operates. That's not how he handles. When you are bruised and broken, be encouraged that we have a God that loves us so much that he wants to be close to us. And so you might be listening to this podcast, or you might be watching this podcast, and you might be thinking like, you know what, Micah, I'm damaged. I've had some things that have happened in my life. And they've devastated me. What I want you to know today or tonight or this morning, whenever you're listening to this podcast, is you may be damaged, but you're still good. God still has a plan for you. You are not defined by the moments of damage in your life, but you are defined by what God speaks over your life. And so please have this understanding that God truly loves you. Recently, I read a passage in 1 Corinthians that I want to read to you that perfectly summarized the way that God dealt with me during a time. It says, when you were under a great pressure, far beyond your ability to endure, so that when we despaired of life itself, but this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. He has delivered you from such a deadly peril, and he will deliver you again. On him we have set our hope that he will continue to deliver us. Meaning that on him, we can literally set our confidence, our faith, and our hope, knowing, believing, and understanding that he is going to deliver us and he's going to be there to help us. Pressure in life is never easy. It's never easy to deal with damage. It's never easy to walk through those seasons. But listen, you might be in a moment right now where you are so discouraged, where you're so upset, where you're so anxious, or you're in a bad place. I want you to understand that this is only a moment in time. There is something greater that's going to happen in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the next tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month, next year. You're going to look back on this season and you're going to say, man, that was such a short time of my life. And if you allow God to heal your heart, if you allow God to set his love upon you and his peace upon you, and you understand that, when you begin to realize that, you begin to see that, you know what? I might be damaged, but God says I'm good. And what God says about you is so much more important than what man says. See, God's calling on our life is so much greater than man's opinion about who we are. You might be damaged, but you're still good. What I love about God is that God collects the damaged goods. Remember how I said there's always that one that shops for them? Well, it's God. God literally goes into the store and he looks at all of us, all of those that have been damaged. He looks at all of us and says, I want you, and you. I want all of you to be with me. See, God sees the value past the damage. God sees what's deep down inside of us, and he sees something inside of us that we don't always see in ourselves. But it's the value that we have unto him and to this world. So I hope that you're encouraged today. I hope that this is something that you can grasp onto. This is one of those things that I was just kept thinking, you know what? I want to share this with people. When I travel, this is one of the messages that I speak to a generation, because a generation needs to know that, listen, you might be damaged, but you're still good. God still loves you. Even through all the craziness that you've been through, he's been there with you through it all, and he loves you and cares about you. Maybe today you feel like you're damaged, but maybe today you could also understand that you are still good. I hope this was encouraging for you today. I hope that you got something out of it. Again, if you ever have any questions, please reach out to me. Reach out to our team at Refuge Youth Network. Visit us at refugeyouth.network.org. You can access all of our contact information. We're on there. And please be encouraged today of what God has. Remember, this whole thing is about loving God and loving people. If you do the first one right, you'll do the second one right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.